launching a civil rights investigation into a deadly church shooting in Tennessee.
The masked gunman, an immigrant now, we're learning from the country of Sudan, opened fire just as the services ended.
President Trump has signed a proclamation implementing travel restrictions on 8 countries. Some of the affected countries include North Korea now and Venezuela, as well as 6 others across the Middle East and Africa.
2 possible blows to the Graham-Cassidy health care bill coming from Senator Ted Cruz in Texas and Maine Senator Susan Collins.
People are hurting, and they're begging, please, you've got to repeal this. You've got to give me some help.
Our country waking up more divided than ever. More than 200 NFL players took a knee or raised their fist during our national anthem.
Yeah, the protests in response to President Trump calling for coaches to punish players who refuse to stand for the American flag.
This has nothing to do with race. This has to do with respect for our country and respect for our flag.
The bonds bursting. Former Army Ranger Alejandro Villanueva was the only Pittsburgh Steeler to come out of the locker room before their game against the Chicago Bears.
Welcome to America's #1 cable morning news show. It's Fox and Friends from Studio F. We're up here on the mezzanine level. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us as they come
Good morning.
up.
We have a big show ahead. Lots of changes tonight. Sean Hannity's moving times. He's going to be on the show with us today.
Yeah.
Geraldo's in Puerto Rico.
He's going to be doing an interview with Steve Bannon.
Yes.
Very interesting, because the President of the United States is backing Senator Luther, who's filled in for Jeff Sessions. Big Luther, big guy. He's about 6'5", I think. And then you have Judge Moore has been backed by Steve Bannon, as well as Sebastian Gorka. So I'm very interested. Yet Steve Bannon said, I'm the wingman for the president. Here they disagree.
And the president himself said at Luther's rally on Friday night, you know, I'm behind Luther, but if Luther loses, I'm going to go ahead and campaign for the judge. And that is the same rally where the president talked about the players, and that has hit the fan, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, we got a big story right now. It's a Fox News alert. The FBI has launched a civil rights investigation into a deadly church shooting in the state of Tennessee.
The masked gunman, an immigrant from Sudan, opening fire just as Sunday services ended. An armed usher now being hailed as a hero for stopping him.
Jillian Mealy is live outside of that church. It's in Antioch, Tennessee. Good morning, Jillian. What happened there?
That's right. Good morning. So I will get to the story of the usher in just a second, but actually right now in my email, literally 30 seconds ago, I got a copy of the affidavit, and I'm just taking a look at that right now. And it does say that during the interview of the suspect that he did state he arrived at the church behind us here at approximately 10:55 yesterday morning. And the affidavit also states that he was armed with a handgun and that he fired upon the church building. So that is the latest information that we just got in the last few minutes. Let's go ahead and put up that picture of someone who's being called a hero, though. This is an usher who works at the church. He's here for Sunday services. He's 22-year-old Robert Engel. Here's what people tell us, that he had an altercation with the gunman when he entered the church, and during that altercation, the gunman was shot. That's when Robert Engel went out to his car, got a gun, and he actually held the gunman at gunpoint until police arrived. Police, parishioners, even his own father calling him a hero. Listen.
Seeing my son's face just covered in blood, and I'm sitting there thinking, dadgum, he done got shot. I sit and think, what if? What if he would pull the trigger because he had the gun pointed at him? But, yeah, I'm proud of him.
A lot of people very proud of him and thankful that he was there. People say that he saved their lives. The one victim who died in this tragedy, 39-year-old Melanie Smith, she was shot just outside the church as she was leaving the Sunday services around 11 o'clock yesterday morning. 6 others injured inside the church. Let's quickly tell you what we know about the gunman at this point. His name, Emmanuel Sampson. He's a 25-year-old legal U.S. resident. We are told he moved to the United States in 1996 from Sudan. We're going to get more information throughout the day, but right now, parishioners tell us that he actually would come to Sunday services at this church years ago. They haven't seen him in a while, and they certainly didn't recognize him yesterday because he was wearing a mask. Guys.
All right, Jeanine Mealy live in Antioch, Tennessee with the very latest. Thank you. Remember in the olden days when people used to watch football for football? Although some people actually watched the Super Bowl for the advertisements, a lot of people probably tuned in yesterday to watch the national anthem to see how many players would stand and how many would take a knee. A lot of them, there's our friend singing the national anthem right there, a lot of them linked arms in solidarity, but over 200 players took a knee in the largest protest since Colin Kaepernick started the practice a year ago.
Brian, you're our sports guy. Do you remember when we used to watch football to escape the politics?
Yeah, embarrassingly, the first game was at 9 in the morning Eastern time in England at Wembley Stadium, and the whole world got to see how divided we are, even when it comes to playing the national anthem. As the Jaguars were there, and they won up big against the Ravens. Most of the Ravens took a knee. The Jaguars had their owner on the field. Some took them a knee, which I know has to be bothering Tom Coughlin, who has to be one of the most patriotic people on the planet. He's now their president, as well as their coach is Doug Marrone. I also know that he's extremely patriotic. But the problem with this entire thing is that it actually, so people should get clear, this did not start with President Trump. This started when President Obama was president, when Colin Kaepernick was noticed taking a knee and sitting down during the national anthem. He was asked about it. Others joined him on it. It was extremely controversial. The president got fed up with it. So in an hour and 20-minute speech in front of a very friendly Alabama crowd, he came out and said, don't you wish an owner would go down there and tell those SOBs you're fired for not standing during the national anthem? Anyone who knows this knows from day one, I've been outraged by this. Not so much that people are unhappy. If you have a problem with race in America, okay, speak up. Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, you could talk about anybody, Ray Lewis. No one's been hurt by speaking up. In fact, a lot of them, Charles Barkley, when they speak up and tell their mind, they get great broadcasting jobs. But it was my problem, for many of you too, was they were doing it during the national anthem, not just for the military, for the country. But yesterday, I thought the president overall, his remarks Friday and his tweet Saturday made everything worse.
Well, here's what we know about Donald Trump. He is an unconventional politician. You know, he's a businessman for decades, and now he's a politician. He clearly, during that rally, you know, he's riffing on different things, and he came to the topic of, you know, the players who take a knee. And clearly it bothers him. It's something he didn't like, and he called out the owners about it, the way Donald Trump does. Yesterday, as he was getting on Air Force One to come back to Washington, D.C., he was asked about what was going on, and he made it very clear what this whole thing had to do with regarding his comments. It was not about race. It was about the flag. Watch. Here's the president.
I think it's very disrespectful to our flag and to our country. So I certainly think the owners should do something about it. There was great solidarity. I watched a little bit, and I will say that there was tremendous solidarity for our flag and for our country. I think it's very disrespectful to our country. I think it's very, very disrespectful to our flag. We have a great country. We have great people representing our country, especially our soldiers, our first responders, and they should be treated with respect. And when you get on your knee and you don't respect the American flag or the anthem, that's not being treated with respect. This has nothing to do with race. I've never said anything about race. This has nothing to do with race or anything else. This has to do with respect for our country and respect for our flag.
See, when we interview people who have lost their legs or have fought for our great country overseas, and then you see our players taking a knee during the national anthem, that's what many Americans find offense to. It is not that these individuals who are taking a knee, most of them are amazing people. They've done great things for the inner cities. They have, taken care of their families. They're excited about the money that they've made, and they share it with other people. It is nothing about their character when it comes to those types of things. It's just the platform of where they're trying to do it. It is just because my two grandfathers fought in World War II. My father gave up one weekend every month to go serve in the Army Reserves for 20 years and 2 weeks every summer, and would drive 2 hours to go and do that. I mean, that's what I take offense to. It's just the platform. It's during the national anthem. If you want to do it, go down and sit. The president should sit with these NFL players and talk to them and have a great dialogue so that we can unite as a country. The president has a great platform to do that. These NFL players, so many young kids look up to them. So I understand their thoughts. And, you know, as a Christian, I love them all. I mean, we love people. It's just doing it during the national anthem is what I have a big problem with.
So Johnny Joey Jones is an amputee. The loss, who was defusing bombs, blew off both his legs in Afghanistan. And he spoke to the Bengals, be speaking to the Ravens. Really inspirational guy. He joined us an hour ago.
I don't know what it's like to be a 25-year-old black man on the streets of any city in this country and be discriminated against. But no one in the NFL, other than Alejandro Villanueva, really knows what it's like to be a 25-year-old American in the middle of a country where everyone wants to kill you.
So who is he referring to? He's referring to 28-year-old Alejandro Villanueva. He is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers decided as a team, rather than come out and some would take a knee, presumably, or lock arms, they would just not give people that optic and stay in the locker room. Except that man right there, a former Army Ranger who had 3 tours in Afghanistan, a Bronze Star, he came out of the tunnel, stood there, the only Steeler who we knew what they were doing during the national anthem was him, and he stood.
Because he's fought for our country. He's done 3 tours. He knows what the men and women are sacrificing.
His coach was ticked at him, too. He said, I want everyone to stay together. I don't want him going out there. And he said he didn't want to get involved in politics by staying in the locker room. By staying in the locker room, you're getting involved in politics. The L.A. Sparks did the same thing. What's interesting is NASCAR has a different approach. Richard Petty and Richard Childress essentially said, if any of my people do not go out for this, stand for the national anthem, they won't be on my team anymore.
I'm sure he was like, gosh, I want to be with my family. I want to be with the team. But I can't. The military, my service, the other men and women's service means more to me than sitting in the locker room.
Fans were booing in New England, and they were chanting "Stand Up." I believe they were chanting "Stand Up" in New England, and they booed in Buffalo.
My big question is, what is going to change in America to justify the players all standing up again?
The union's got to get together with the league. That's a good point.
Good question.
The union's got to get together with the league and just mandate it. My sense is they'll take the easy way out and ban the national anthem.
I bet they continue to play the national anthem.
And
the players
stay in the locker room. Yep.
If, you know, because you got to play the national anthem.
I know.
It's so emotional. Anyway, 7:12 now here in New York City. Fox News alert, Puerto Rico is in crisis. People, including Geraldo Rivera's own family, running out of critical supplies after Hurricane Maria. He will join us live from the island next.
And this video's insane. You got a train surfer caught on camera. This is not a movie.
Whoa.
How his wild ride ended.
A train surfer.
We are back with the Fox News alert. Hot, isolated, and running out of everything. This is a grim reality people are facing in Puerto Rico after Maria, the hurricane, left the island crippled.
A dam still threatening to burst in the southwest area, forcing thousands now to evacuate.
All right, Fox News correspondent Geraldo Rivera just reunited with his family in San Juan. Jeanine joins us live right there. Geraldo, how bad?
Hi, Brian, Ainsley, and Steve. It is very, very bad. You know, I know America is a great and compassionate country, but I fear that distracted by that whole NFL national anthem thing and also suffering compassion fatigue after Hurricane Harvey and then Irma and now Maria, people won't be able to get their arms around the slow-moving, absolutely humanitarian disaster that is unfolding here in Puerto Rico. I mean, the 2 main items there, they have no electricity. They need electricity to pump water, so they have no water. So you have a population of 3.4 million people living in dire, dire straits. They are waiting online for gasoline for up to 6 to 8 hours just to buy $20 worth of gas. They need gas to fuel their generators because there is no power. The electrical grid is absolutely, absolutely destroyed. And remember, this was a 1-2 punch. For people in the Virgin Islands, first it was Hurricane Irma, then came Hurricane Maria. Yesterday, we met people who had actually suffered the eye wall of both hurricanes.
The Puerto Ricans showed up to come save us, to bring us back to here. And that was last Saturday. And then to have this happen again. Oh my God, it's been quite an adventure.
It was the scariest thing in the world. I thought we were going to die when the eye turned and we moved into the bathroom. The gusts were, we learned later, at 2:45, and we thought that was the end of our life.
The people who reached out and made a lot of sacrifices, look at the sacrifice they've made, but they are just extraordinary people in terms of generosity.
The people of Puerto Rico are an extraordinary people. They are a resilient and innovative, enterprising people. But they have been battered in a way that words almost fail. The landscape is scorched. Even the wind farms where they tried to get alternative energy, the wind farms are all busted. The blades are busted up. So you hear the hum of generators. And again, that problem with fuel, just no fuel. My own family, when I was 15 and turning 16, I lived with my family here in Puerto Rico. They still live in the same house. My dad, one of 17 children. I have so many cousins here, and this disaster takes on this whole different personal dimension. I went to their home yesterday, just on the outskirts of San Juan. They have no power. They have no water. They are struggling. The children are not in school. I met my cousin Sonia and her children. They've done so well, this family. They've worked hard. They've gone to school. Sonia's daughter is a doctor. They love this country, but they are in dire straits. Here, meet some of the Rivera family.
What are we going to do now? Well, we just have to wait, actually, and pray. That's the only thing we can do. Right now, we're running out of drinking water, especially. Thank God we bought those bottles of water, because we already started to run out.
So you have a situation where my family, just like every other family, every time you flush the toilet, you need fresh water. Where do you get the fresh water from? They need power. They need help. They need almost something like a Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe. Puerto Rico has to be rebuilt. Back to you guys.
J-Lo said yesterday she's given $1 million. The Yankees, Mets are going there. Mark Cuban's there. She's saying send the Navy. Why not?
I think the Navy, Brian, is a great idea. What you really need right now, I mean, aside from the rebuilding of the power grid, which they say will be out for 4 to 6 months.
I know. Hard to believe. Geraldo, thanks so much for checking again.
$7:24 here in New York City now. Time for some quick headlines. Just days after a brutal acid attack at a London shopping mall, there are new concerns now about copycat attacks here in the United States. Our Department of Homeland Security reportedly says those types of attacks are easy to carry out with household products and could appeal to terrorists. Meanwhile, last week, it was just 4 weeks, last week, 4 American college students from Boston College were sprayed with acid at a train station in France. And violent crime here in the United States is up for the second year in a row. Moments ago, the FBI releasing crime stats for 2016 to Fox and Friends. Apparently, violent crime increased by 3.4% nationwide last year. That's the single largest increase in 25 years. And the homicide rate went up 7.9% in the country. That's now an increase of more than 20% since 2014. All right, Brian.
All right, here we go. Back to the #1 topic in America, standing his ground. Former Army Ranger and Pittsburgh Steeler Alejandro Villanueva stood for the national anthem all alone as the rest of his team stayed in the locker room. I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. So what did his coach think?
We're not going to let divisive times or divisive individuals affect our agenda. We're not going to play politics with football players, with football coaches. We're not participating in the anthem today. Not to be disrespectful to the anthem, to remove ourselves from this circumstance.
But you all know by staying in the locker room, you're in the middle, you made a political stand. Here to react are a panel of former players. And by the way, over 200 players had some type of protest. Former NFLers Randall Hill and former safety and author of Liberalism, How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps, Burgess Owens. Welcome, guys. Randall, for you first, when you saw over 200 players take some type of protest action, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't really have a problem with it because it's still freedom of speech. And again, when you talk about these stadiums, the majority of these stadiums are private property. So if there's an issue, I think everyone should talk to the owners, because you can't have freedom of speech on private property if the owners want everyone to stand. For example, Buddy Ryan, when I was playing, he made every player stand on the sideline, and if you scratch, you move, you wipe sweat, you got fined $1,500. No one said anything about that. So what is the difference the other way around?
Right. I don't think anyone disputes you can, Randall. It's whether you should, Burgess, and I bring that to you. After the president's remarks on Friday, I know you said you would always stand for the national anthem. Did you change your mind after the president's remarks on Friday?
No, not at all. Matter of fact, I think what we have to understand, guys, is this is what the left does. They first of all ban God. They then destroyed the black family. Now they're trying to take away the pride in our country. And I think they're going to rue the day that they brought this up, because finally black athletes are finally taking a stand, coming out of the locker room and doing something at least. Now we can start having a conversation about why is it that 83% of black teen males are unemployed across our country? Why is it that 70% in the state of California of black boys are illiterate? Those are the issues we need to have, and it's not white Americans. It's black Americans who have the wealth to make a change, and they're sitting back and not making a change, sitting on the sideline. So we need to engage ourselves as black Americans and make a change in our communities.
So Burgess, and before I get to you, Randall, I just noticed in your background you have a great-great-grandfather who was a slave. So does that change your perspective of the pride you have in the flag?
It's the history that the liberal left doesn't want us to hear. A great-great-grandfather came across as a slave at 8 years old, died as a successful entrepreneur, a builder of a church, a builder of education, a Republican and proud American. And every single one of my ancestors have been proud Americans. We need to be proud again, be hopeful, and give our kids hope. Right. That's what the left is trying to get away from us.
So,
right now.
So, Randall, knowing that you can do this, and no one says you can't do it, we know freedom of speech, but just the symbol of taking a knee while the national anthem that you should have pride in and the flag hangs there, I think that's more the issue, don't you?
Well, first let me say I always stand, and I've had people in the military commend me for standing and making sure that I salute the flag. But, it's still freedom of speech. And then, I don't know why this is, people always yelling, oh, well, it's the left, it's the left. No, I guess there wasn't any moderates or independents not saluting the flag, too. So this is not a political thing. This is, in my opinion, what it is guys are tired of some of the things that are going on. And let's be realistic. Would this have really happened yesterday if it wasn't really made that more political? And that's a rhetorical question. But again, don't say, oh, well, it's the left, it's the left. I think that's silly because people in the middle actually didn't stand, and there is some things besides right and left and black and white.
If I could just do this before we go, how does this end, Burgess? How do we get out of this cycle? No one's happy where we're at right now. Not the people on their knees, not the people with their hand on their heart. So how do we get out of this quick?
It comes down to our athletes now getting involved. There is a leftist problem. The misery we're talking about in the black community, the ones that they're standing up against is because of Democratic policies. So we'll get through the season. They make sure that during the offseason they stand up and put their money back into the community, and let's make a change and get these guys hopeful again. And with that being said, people will stand up proudly because they see our country as a place of opportunity for everybody.
Randall, do we have a way is there a way out of this?
No, it's going to be tough. Let people have freedom of speech to do what they want, but, still have pride in your country, because some of those guys who are kneeling, most of them actually pray, too. So I guess that's wrong, too, right? No, it's not.
Randall Hill, Burgess Owens, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
All right, straight ahead. Jimmy Kimmel leading the charge to derail the Republicans' health care bill, but he's not going it alone. Turns out he's getting help from Senator Chuck Schumer. Dan Bongino here to react next. And how did she catch this? The insane story of how this 4-foot woman bagged a 13-foot gator. Some say it wasn't possible. I say it is. Fox News alert. Get this. Murder in God's house. A gunman opening a fire as people left church outside Nashville, Tennessee. The suspect identified as Emmanuel Sampson, an immigrant from Sudan.
He's accused of killing one woman and hurting 6 others, but it could have been a lot worse if it wasn't for that armed usher. His name is Caleb Engel. He confronted the gunman.
Engel holding the suspect at gunpoint until the cops arrived.
Very grateful to him.
The gunman is facing murder charges. A civil rights investigation is underway. Let's bring in Dan Bongino. He's a former Secret Service guy. He was a cop here in New York City, and he's the author of Protecting the President, an inside account of the troubled Secret Service in an era of evolving threats. Just came out last week. Dan, thanks for joining us today from Palm City down in Florida.
Sure, happy to be here.
How about the story of the Sudanese immigrant who, it could have been a lot worse had that usher not wrestled with him and then eventually made his way out to his car and got his gun?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of takeaways from this story, Steve. I think the first one is that we've seen stories like this over and over. A lot of them are suppressed by the media and their anti-gun efforts, but this is another one of those good guy with a gun stories. And, you know, having been in law enforcement, spent my entire life with both carry permits and as, having carried a weapon as a part of my tool package as a police officer, I don't know why people think that people who go into a church and have this in their head that they're going to commit a massacre, what do they think is going to stop them? You know, negotiations, right. A high five. I mean, the only thing that's going to stop them is a good guy with a firearm. And I wish more stories like this would receive some publicity.
Well, this one certainly got a lot of attention because it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, something else in the news.
Yeah.
Something else in the news is everything happening with the NFL. And Jesse Williams is this actor on Grey's Anatomy. He's also an activist. And he was talking to, was it a sports commentator on, he was talking to Thomas Roberts on MSNBC. And he was saying that the national anthem is a scam. Listen to this and I want to get your reaction.
Sure. This anthem thing is a scam. This is not actually part of football. This was invented in 2009 as from the government paying the NFL to market military recruitment, to get more people to go off and fight wars to die. This has nothing to do with NFL or American pastime or tradition. This is to get boys and girls to go fly overseas and go kill people.
That's right. Whitney Houston sang the national anthem in 2009. Oops, I don't think so. What's he talking about?
You know, if we could only all live in this Hollywood utopia that all of these, these pseudo-intellectual Hollywood types do. I mean, are they serious? Do they really think we live in a world where grown, responsible, brave men don't have to do violence to preserve freedom and liberty? I mean, what planet does this clown live on? Is this guy serious that the national anthem in the beginning of a game, a symbol of national solidarity for the greatest country in the history of mankind, is this joker serious that this is some kind of a scam? You know what's a scam? Hollywood continuing to take our money while they crap all over Americans who give their hard-earned money to watch these people entertain us and then turn around the very next day and call us all deplorables, idiots, and they make fun of us all the time. I'm tired of these guys. You know, when I go in to see my doctor, I don't ask him for his opinion on politics. He's a lot smarter than Jesse Williams, who's a fake doctor on TV. We really don't care about your opinion, Jesse. Clam up and go entertain us for a living. That's what you do. Well, if I want to hear your political opinion, we'll give it to you. Keep quiet from now on. A scam. Is this guy serious? What a joke.
Dan, the president got this started on Friday night. He was at a rally for Luther Strange down in Alabama, and he said, the owner should fire the players who don't stand for the national anthem. The president has just sent out 2 tweets in the last 10 minutes. The first one is, many people booed the players who kneeled yesterday, which was a small percentage of total. These are fans who demand respect for our flag. He also went on to say that NASCAR had it right. The drivers in NASCAR will stand for the national anthem. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking as this happened yesterday, this disgrace on foreign soil, NFL athletes in London humiliating the United States on foreign soil while simultaneously standing for God Save the Queen. And I thought to myself, the last time young men traveled in that direction, back during World War II, right across the channel, they were storming the beaches to try to save the world from fascism. Mm-hmm. What a disgrace. I mean, think about those men in those boats who were getting ready to hit the shores while German gunfire was strafing them and likely to wipe out the first two lines of men as they watched people dying in front of them. Those are the brave men and women that fought for your ability to make tens of millions of dollars as you traveled in that direction to go play a game for a living. Show some respect. I get it. The United States isn't perfect. You have every right to protest. You have every right to free speech and will passionately defend it. But you don't have the right to be an idiot. And kneeling on foreign soil and disrespecting our country while simultaneously respecting the country you're there, showing everybody how much you hate America, is really an embarrassment. These guys should be humiliated.
By the way, that's the country we actually fought to get rid of, and that was Britain, their domination. So we stand for their national anthem and sit for ours. So yesterday it was revealed, or excuse me, over the weekend it was revealed that Jimmy Kimmel's approach to attacking the Republican plan for health care was to go after Senator Cassidy personally and some other people, but also he was coached by Chuck Schumer through the entire process. So he gave him his talking points on late night television. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, you know, this has really been on my mind lately, and my sympathies are genuinely with Jimmy Kimmel. He's going through an awful situation with his child that everyone on the show, you and I, we have kids. It would be horrendous. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But here's the problem, guys. Jimmy Kimmel has a responsibility using his platform to tell people the truth and not engage in propaganda. And he keeps saying things like government spending and cutting government spending, and this is going to hurt Americans. Well, he never tells people about all the damage government spending in medicine has done to the healthcare market. And you know why he hasn't done it? Because he just doesn't know. He hasn't done the proper research on the material to go out there and speak about it intelligently. And I'm really angry because people believe Jimmy Kimmel and they trust him. And frankly, sadly, he just doesn't know what he's talking about. And again, I say that with all due sympathies towards his situation. It's a terrible situation he's in. But that doesn't make him right. That makes him propaganda.
But you know what's also bad? People that was told they can keep their doctor because they had a relationship with their doctor and they couldn't. People were told by the President Obama for over a year they can keep their plan if they wanted to. They were told their money was going to go down, that it was going to save the average family $2,200. The CBO said it was going to save us money. All those things proved untrue. So if he led with that, well, this is how disappointing Obamacare is, and this is why I think it's worse, and didn't even pick up the phone to call Cassidy, who wrote it, and they evidently had somewhat of a friendship or a relationship. That was the unevenness of it.
Yeah, I mean, where was Jimmy Kimmel when 10 million Americans, hardworking Americans, who, you know, don't have tens of millions of dollars to backstop their income like he does? Where was he when they had their insurance plans canceled? Where was he as their wallets shrunk up because they're paying double-digit premium hikes? I mean, this is really grossly irresponsible to use your platform to tell a one-sided story. And even worse, getting your talking points from Chuck Schumer. I mean, seriously. I mean, Chuck Schumer, the most hyper-partisan Democrat outside of Nancy Pelosi up on the Hill right now, totally, completely irresponsible. You deserve better than that.
All right. Always a pleasure. Dan Bongino, thank you very much for joining us live from Florida.
Thanks, guys.
And congratulations on your book.
Oh, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
It's a good one. Meanwhile, coming up on this Monday, President Trump unveiling his new travel ban, and 3 new countries just added to the list. We're live in Washington for that.
Plus, we're bragging. Sean Hannity's going to be joining us live. He's got a huge interview today, and he's got a new time slot to talk about. Geraldo Rivera visiting his family and everyone in Puerto Rico that needs him so much. And Jason Chaffetz will be joining us live on why his Republican colleagues aren't working. They're vacationing.